Greetings and salutations, viewers. I'm StarPrincessHLC, and welcome to the Q&A slash Disney Questionnaire kind of thing. I've decided to combine it into two things, where I get to answer some of your questions that you left on the videos, as well as address some thoughts on the Disney Questionnaire, because who doesn't love Disney? Well, not everyone loves Disney, but I love Disney. I'm sure a lot of you love Disney, and it's a little bit of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be breaking it up where I'll have one bit from the Disney Questionnaire, followed up by a question. And I didn't get a huge amount of questions on the video, so I only got like about 4. But I came up with a few questions myself from what I've seen of other people doing Q&As, and it might be a good little way to break the ice a little. So, with that, let us begin with a Disney question. Now, the first question of the Disney Questionnaire is right off the bat, what's your favorite Disney film? Me, personally, I love them. I love many of them. There are some I don't like. Home on the Range, for example. By the way, this is also going to include Pixar and... well, I'm not going to have any, but I guess you could include some of the Marvel and the Star Wars movies as well, but I'm not going to include those. But I am going to include at least one Pixar. But for this particular question, for my favorite Disney film, I think I'm gonna have to say The Little Mermaid. It was the one I watched the most as a kid. I still have a love for the song Part of Your World. I still find it a cute film. It has its problems, what film doesn't, but I quite enjoy that film greatly, and it's a huge part of my childhood. So, for my favorite Disney film, gotta say The Little Mermaid. Now, on to the first question. Nightmare Nemo asks, I like the idea of a Cards Against Humanity game and would be happy to join the game. But that's not the question, that's only part of it. My question for you is, what's the story behind wearing the blue robe? Yes, this thing that I've been wearing in probably the majority of my videos. There really isn't a lot to say about this thing. It's literally just a bathrobe I ended up getting for Christmas one year, and the reason I wear it so much is I'm constantly cold. It's a common occurrence with me. I am always cold, especially in this room where the heat kind of takes its time to get to this area, so a lot of the times just closing that door, which I need to close in order to keep sound out and try to keep people from walking in on my recordings, I get cold a lot, even in the summertime, so I just came to I'm just kind of used to wearing this bathrobe around the house all the time. Hey, maybe it could be a staple of my outfit. I don't know, because it's like, Angry Joe's got his Superman shirt, Markiplier's got his Lucky Flannel, Dodger's got her Fox Kigurumi, mine could be a blue robe. The next question in the Disney Questionnaire is, who is your favorite Disney heroine? Which I guess is probably going more into the Disney princess line, which pretty much is my case, because I'd say my favorite is Mulan, just because she's kind of an unusual character to begin with. The fact that, she would go out of her way to even risk her own life, dressing up as a man to take her father's place in the Chinese army, to keep him safe, and then even going out of her way to show how powerful she is despite the fact that she is a woman, and kind of save the day in a sense. Like, I just find her an awesome character, and I really enjoy Mulan. I'd say she's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite Disney heroine in the entirety of Disney. The next question we have is by the Games Man. Congrats on 200 subs, HLC. Why, thank you very much, man. What is your most favorite game, and which is your least favy game? Well, I think I answered the favorite game in a previous Q&A, but I guess I could say as well that probably my favorite I have currently at the moment that I will say is Spyro the Dragon. That was the one game I was super excited to get for Christmas. I played it to death. I do intend to do a Let's Play of it sometime in the future. I gotta catch up with other stuff first, but I would say that one's probably my favorite. Topped off with other games like Breath of Fire 3 and Dragon Age Origins. There's a lot of good games out there, but I'm gonna say, for nostalgic reasons, Spyro the Dragon. As for least favorite game, I'm kind of in an unusual circumstance where I'm actually one of those people who can find good in almost any kind of game. Like, for example, I have a few examples of games that that are not considered very good, but I actually don't mind them. Like, for example, this baby. I'm sure people have heard of this game. Heard as one of the worst games ever. Prism, the Dark Unicorn. This game is considered like one of the worst games ever made, and yet I still kind of enjoy it. I mean, it has its problems. The difficulty curve on this is absolutely horrendous. The graphics are a little bit dated. The voice acting isn't very good. The level design is actually kind of bland, if you could believe it. Like, it's very samey. There's not a lot of variety in the game, but I still kind of enjoy it a little bit, if only for the fact that it's kind of silly. The cutscenes, at least the AMV related cutscenes, are actually really done well, and it could have been done a lot better, obviously, but I still kind of enjoy it. Another game I know that people say is some of the worst ones, Dark Angel. This game definitely doesn't have a very good reputation either, but I still kind of enjoyed it. I still was having fun with it, even though I kept dying over and over again. So there's that. And then even recently, I was trying to do a Let's Play of another game that I ended up scrapping entirely because I just got pissed at it. Two Interviewees. It's a free-to-play game on Game Jolt. Essentially, the whole plot of that game is to try and get to people who are having a job interview a job. The problem is that you can't win the game, and it's essentially a propaganda piece. It's essentially trying to push a political view that is steeped in misinformation and false statistics, and I was just absolutely pissed with that game. I could not bother with putting up the Let's Play of that just because I was so annoyed. And plus, apparently the developer is one of those touchy kind of developers who is very, very much false DMCing anyone who doesn't say nice things about their game, and then won't even debate anybody on the topic of what's going on in that game. So that kind of game really pissed me off for multiple reasons, but I still kind of enjoyed the art style of it. That's the thing. I still found something of interest that I liked in that game. But I don't say that's my least favorite. It's definitely up there, but it's not my least favorite. I think this particular game, I would say, is my least favorite. Ephemeral Fantasia. I tried playing this multiple times. I could not get into it. I was constantly losing my way. A lot of times even the game would just force me into certain situations. Like at the opening, you were basically forced into different storylines and you were completely lost, and they just throw you back into the map, and it's like, where the hell do I go? I really did not enjoy this game at all. I mean, maybe I'll try again in the future, but like, I'd say this is probably my least favorite game ever, Ephemeral Fantasia. Now, the third question in the Disney Questionnaire is, which is your favorite Disney hero? Mine, I have to say, it's probably a little unusual. I'm not even sure if it could be classified as a Disney hero, more of an anti-hero, probably. I would have to say my favorite is Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean series. I just absolutely love those films. 3 and 4 are kind of, I'll admit, definitely not the best, but like, Johnny Depp absolutely owned the character of Jack Sparrow. He was fun and interesting and, very crazy from start to finish. And I'm not even that big of a Johnny Depp fan. I like some of his work, but this was really where I got more introduced into his work. and like he just absolutely nailed that character. He stole the whole show, and in a way, he kind of is a hero if you think about it, because he did save the day multiple times in the end of different scenarios. You know, be it the ending of 1 or even kind of in 2, even though it was kind of a forced heroic action, but I still absolutely enjoy that. I even have a poster of Jack Sparrow in my room. You don't see it usually because I'm always up against the back of my wall with my Phoenix and Dragon posters, but on the other side of the room there's my collection of dragons, and then I have a little, which is on a shelf, and on top of the shelf is a poster of Vegeta for Dragon Ball Z, because I'm a big Vegeta fan, but on the bottom I have Jack Sparrow. So I would have to say my favorite has to be Jack Sparrow. Next question. A Man in Tights asks, you know I'm up for any live stream, possibly if we all download the board game program on Steam and have us just send audio to via Skype, Hangouts, etc. This is talking again about the Cards Against Humanity thing. Question here is, if you had to change your play genre, horror puzzle, what would it be? That's kind of an interesting question, I have to say, considering I'm all over the place with my gameplay. I play a lot of RPG Maker games, I played a bunch of horror games, a bunch of puzzle games. I'm kind of all over the place with my style. I don't think I would change anything, really, apart from maybe get myself a bit more organized, because obviously I'm kind of all over the place with my gameplay. But yeah, I don't think there's really anything I could change about that, because again, I'm not really set on a specific genre. I'm kind of all over the place with my games, so I guess that's my answer on the situation, is I don't think I would change anything other than get more organized. The next question in the Disney Questionnaire is, what is your favorite Disney sidekick? Mine, actually, I kind of am split between 2, actually. Just because one I feel needs a bit more attention, and, well, the other one is just awesome. First of all, I'd have to say Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. I absolutely love that film, despite the fact that it's very silly. And Kronk is definitely one of the biggest characters in the show or the movie that I absolutely enjoy. Patrick Warburton brings so much to that character. And it's just so funny how he's so all over the place, and he's so torn between, doing the right thing and helping out Yzma. And he's just this big, goofy kid with all these amazing talents, like talking to squirrels and cooking, and he's just an awesome character, absolutely fun to be around. I would totally like to hang out with him at some point in real life if he was real. Like, he's just an awesome character, and he definitely made that movie for me. My other character I would say as a favorite sidekick is kind of in a more obscure kind of film. It's not a very popular Disney film. It's called The Wild. It would be an interesting film if not the fact that it basically kind of copies off of Finding Nemo, The Lion King, and Madagascar. Like, it's basically the story of a lion trying to find his son and going out into the wild of both the streets of New York and just some strange island in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it's not a very strong movie apart from the animation, but there is one character in that whole film that stands out to me, and that's Nigel the koala. He is this goofy, silly little English koala played by Eddie Izzard, probably my favorite comedian of all time, and 90% of all that he ever did in that film was improv. So the animators were just having a field day, I guess, with some of his improv stuff, and watching him on the behind-the-scenes stuff, just going off on his craziness, it's absolutely fun. And like, he pretty much stole the whole movie for me in that film, because even if I wasn't a fan of Eddie, he brought so much to that character and brought so much fun to what would have been a very boring film. So I definitely have to give that also to Nigel the koala, as well as Kronk for The Emperor's New Groove. Next question on our list is done by Maple Nia. Let's see, her question, I'll skip all the other stuff, but what is your all-time favorite game, which I already answered as Spyro. What is your favorite book? If you don't have a favorite book, but a favorite genre, what is your favorite genre? Well, I don't think I have a completely favorite book. I have reread Les Mis by Victor Hugo multiple times. I've reread The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien multiple times, as well as the Lord of the Rings series. But I don't say that they're my absolute favorites. I don't think I have an absolute favorite, but definitely my favorite genre is fantasy and sci-fi. Like, if I'm ever at a Barnes & Noble, that is where I'm going to be, is the fantasy and sci-fi section. I'll definitely dip into the fiction multiple times as well, but definitely fantasy and sci-fi are my big things. Absolutely. The next question on the Disney Questionnaire is, what is your favorite Disney villain? And this one is absolutely no question for me. It's Hades from Hercules, absolutely. James Woods very much stole that show, that entire movie. Like, he is such a silly and goofy character where, you know, he can be very menacing, but at the same time, he is so funny and so witty and, you know, actually kind of menacing as well. So it's an interesting little balance between being funny and being like menacing, and he really hits that really well with Hades. And the fact that he's still playing Hades to this day, you know, constantly doing the voice acting for the TV series, for the video games like Kingdom Hearts. It's obvious how much he loves that role, and he just nails that role. I'm curious to see how it's gonna end up in the TV series of Once Upon a Time, because that's coming back on in soon, and Hades is gonna be in it, and it's gonna be interesting because, you know, you can't imagine anyone else but James Woods playing Hades. But absolutely, my absolute favorite villain in any Disney film is Hades. Alright, I am currently now, that was all the questions I got, so now I'm dipping into some of my questions that I've been picking out. First off, I guess I'll say my favorite Let's Play. I'll put that in there. I would say so far, my favorite Let's Play that I've done thus far has to be Corpse Party. I absolutely, you know, not just because I really enjoy that game, but I think I really did a really good job in commentating with that game, because, you know, looking for all the information and trying to piece in bits from the series in general, both the original and the remake and the series in general, I would say, plus with some of my reactions to it, even though I knew a lot of what was going on, I still really enjoy that. And I'd say that's probably my favorite Let's Play I've done thus far. So if you haven't seen my Corpse Party Let's Play, please do check it out, because that's the most proud of my Let's Plays I've done thus far. And I do intend to be doing Book of Shadows sometime either for the Halloween season or later on, but I do want to at least try and get a reaction series going for the OVA Tortured Souls, because that kind of bridges the two together a little. Alright, the next question on the Disney Questionnaire is, what is your favorite Disney couple? Now, for me, I would have to say it has to be Lady and the Tramp. Not just because, like, that's one of my mom's favorite films, and it's such a cute little film, but I think it's just kind of a neat little story of, like, two different worlds coming together. You know, Lady is this upstart pedigree dog that lives with her family, and she's, you know, happy-go-lucky and has no worries in the world. And then you got Tramp, who's just this mutt off the streets, who is like, you know, carefree, has no worries, despite the fact that, you know, he's at danger's door every day because he doesn't have an owner. You know, seeing the two dynamics work out, and, you know, seeing them come together on their differences and learning to love each other, I thought was a really cute and nice romantic story. And even if you think about it, the spaghetti scene is cute but also kind of gross. But, you know, I'd have to say Lady and the Tramp has got to be my favorite Disney couple. Alright, the next question that I could answer on this little Q&A is, about my family. That's fair. I can always talk about my family. Well, currently, I have my parents, of course. They're not divorced or anything. They fight a lot, but that's normal of families. But essentially, like, I have a lot of cousins and such, and second cousins and such, but most of my family's a little estranged, so mainly my main focus for my family has always been my parents and my younger brother, Daniel, who is a very important part of my life. My younger brother has autism, and it's always been a bit of a struggle with our family trying to balance out taking care of him and taking care of everything else, because as much as I love him, he can get on my nerves very easily. That's actually part of the reason why I don't record videos on the weekends, is because he's home all throughout the weekend, and he interrupts my recording session. Even if I have the door locked, he'll bang on the door trying to get my attention, so I have to not be able to do that. Or if I don't have the door locked, he'll walk in and make a bunch of noise. Like, for example, with 5 Days a Stranger, at the finale of that, he decided to walk in and start vacuuming, and I had to re-record that whole finale, which kind of probably diminished some of the dramatic tension of that scene. But either way, he has still been a very important part of my life. Like, video games have been a big part of our bonding experience. Like, for Christmas, playing Rampage was our big thing for the longest time, which is why I hold that game so very dear and dear. And we were also playing, like, Dragon's Crown together, and even some of the DBZ Budokai games we played. Video games have been a very big part of connecting with my younger brother, and originally I wanted it to be like, as I got older, I would develop games and then my brother would test them. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream nowadays. I still would love to get into video game development, but I don't think my brother would be up for testing, just because he'll probably just say he loves every single one of them. But my family is incredibly important to me, and especially my younger brother. And it's always a worry of what's going to happen to him if something ever happens to me or my family. But my family is incredibly important to me, and I would be lost without them. I really would. The next question on the Disney Questionnaire is your favorite Disney dance scene? And I really can't think of any other dance scene that I can say would top any list. It would have to be the dance sequence in Beauty and the Beast. Like, it was such a beautiful moment, seeing the two of them come together, and the sweeping camera angles with the chandelier and the mural with the angels and everything. It's an absolutely beautiful scene, and Angela Lansbury's singing of Beauty and the Beast, although probably it's not up there, I think, with Celine Dion and such, it was still really pretty and very intimate, despite the fact that the room was absolutely huge, and it was just the two of them together. It was such a beautiful scene, and I can't think of any other dance sequence that tops that one, in my personal opinion. Alright, the next question I thought of that I could answer on this little Q&A is how I got my username. I've answered this one before, but since we've had a lot of new people come to the channel, it's only fair that I touch upon this. Originally, my username online was actually Warrior Vega Lovestar. That was a combination of two of my favorite things that I used to watch when I was younger, which was Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z. It was kind of a weird little amalgamation of that. Then I ended up changing that when I started writing a fan fiction, funnily enough, titled The Star Princess, and that was the character Star Princess. And I kind of took that name and I incorporated it into the first forum that I ever entered online, which was ironically on Eddie Izzard's website. The board is unfortunately no longer active. Once he changed his website, the forum, which was called the Blather board, was taken down. But that was where I originally took the name Star Princess. And then when a friend of mine on that forum asked me to join her on Twitter, I could not choose the name Star Princess. It had already been taken. So instead, I decided to incorporate my initials, my real-life initials, into the name, Heather Lynn Callahan. And that's where StarPrincessHLC came, and I've just been using it ever since. The next question in the Disney Questionnaire is your favorite Disney kiss. And this is going to probably be maybe a little controversial, but maybe not. And I'd have to say the kiss scene in Sleeping Beauty. Just because, I mean, yeah, I know the connotations of the original source material Sleeping Beauty. I know the story of, like, the actual dark truth of that fairy tale. But in this particular one, it's a sweet little story based around more the idea of true love. I mean, say what you will about the film, I still have a soft spot for it a little bit, but the fact that this kiss was so powerful that it not only woke her up, but woke the kingdom up, that the power of love saved the kingdom, I just find absolutely beautiful. And obviously they changed a lot of connotations with that, with the live-action Maleficent film, which I still have not seen, and I'm not sure I really want to see, but I still enjoy that kiss. It was absolutely beautiful, and you even see, like, the color return to her face as the spell is broken, and it's just, I find that such an amazing little scene, so that's gotta be my favorite kiss out of the whole thing. Alright, the next question I decided to choose for this Q&A is what software I use, because I know a lot of people who want to start out as well. They want to know, like, what software to use for, like, recording, editing, that kind of stuff, so that they could try and start up. Mainly, the entire thing that I use for recording as well as streaming, which I do intend to stream eventually in the future, but I'm going to need a little bit of practice with that. But I exclusively use Open Broadcaster software, OBS, for everything. It does really well for recording purposes. I can do it multiple different ways, be it for automatically doing game capture or just window capture. I can implement my webcam without having to fiddle around with things. And then for editing, right now I'm using Cyberlink PowerDirector 13 Deluxe. Cyberlink is actually a pretty good company. It's a lot cheaper than Adobe products by a long shot. It's still a little pricey depending on where you get it, but yeah, I got it off of Amazon for my birthday, like at a really good price. It's, it's very simple to use, and it's, it's very similar, I think, to Premiere or Windows Movie Maker, which I originally was using, and it's obviously limited in extent, but it's still a good product. And the fact that I can just automatically upload my videos to YouTube through Cyberlink instead of having to wait for YouTube all the time is a nice touch as well. So that's what I use. The next question on the Disney Questionnaire is favorite family scene in Disney films, favorite Disney family film. And this one, I guess, I would have to give to Lilo and Stitch. Well, I love the film in general, and the second one, the ending to that made me cry terribly. There is a lot of great scenes in that film, like the fact, seeing the dynamics between Lilo and her sister Nani, dealing with both their parents' loss and, like, the older sister trying to be the parent while still being kind of a kid herself is always a good thing. But probably my favorite scene in that is, it's more towards the end of the film, where Nani has to try and break the news to Lilo that she's going to be taken away, that she's no longer going to be taking care of her. And you can see how heartbroken Nani is about this, knowing that she's going to lose her little sister, and Lilo doesn't have any clue of what's going on, and she doesn't have the guts to eventually tell Lilo that she's that she's going to be taken away. So she just scoops her up into this little hammock, and they sing this small little song, Aloha Oi. It's a beautiful and touching little scene between the two sisters, you know, kind of saying, like, you know, even if we're separated, even if we're taken away from each other, we're still connected and we'll still somehow see each other again. And I just find that scene absolutely moving, and it's probably the best scene, family-wise, that I've seen in a film for a while, so that's gotta be my choice. Alright, for the next question I picked out, to follow up with the software thing, people will probably ask what equipment I use. Well, mainly, the whole thing is, I don't even know what brand these headphones are. Hang on. I think they just say Bach, or no, each G2 100. They're actually like a really decent microphone, or headphones, and plus it's nice that I can like adjust volume with this, as opposed to like having to go straight through my speakers. And it also comes with a headphone with a microphone attached, but I've never actually used it, because I mainly just use my snowball microphone with a pop filter, obviously. But yeah, this thing is pretty good. I would recommend probably finding a stronger mic, just because sometimes this thing is a little quiet and I have to like up the volume on it. But either way, it's a really good microphone. It comes with its own stand. It's very versatile, and yeah, so far it's served me well. And for the webcam, I still have the box sitting over here. What is it called again? TechNet C018 HD 1080p webcam. That's what it's called. It works well for my purposes. Obviously, after a while, it gets a little tired. Sometimes, if you don't adjust it properly, it can make the video a little fuzzy. But it works really well. You just easily plug it into the computer, and yeah, it's served me well for the past, well, since I got on in May. It's been serving me a good long while. But, you know, even if you don't go for the most expensive stuff, you can still do this kind of work. You find what works for you, mainly, I'd say. The next in the Disney Questionnaire is a favorite emotional scene from a Disney film. And this one is actually probably a little bit more obscure. I actually didn't originally know that this was a Disney film, but after hearing that it actually was, I had to include it on the list, because it always, even just hearing about it, chokes me up. If you're familiar with the live-action film Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey, for those of you who don't know, it's the story of two dogs and a cat going across like huge mountain wildernesses to try and get back to their family that they've been separated from. And yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster from start to finish. It's actually a remake, I believe, of another film called The Incredible Journey, which is based off of a book. But that film is got some amazingly emotional scenes and some very touching moments. But probably the big one I'd have to say is at the very end of the film, because for a little bit of context, mainly the whole film is centered. I mean, it's centered around all the characters, but the big heart of the film has to be the old golden retriever Shadow. Like, he is this elderly golden, like his face is all white, but he is super loyal to his boy Peter and is desperate to get back to him, knowing like, he needs me, my boy needs me. He is always the one throughout the film pushing the other two younger ones further and further to try and get back to their people. He is basically the heart of this film. He is the leader. He is the heart of this film. But at some point at the end of the film, I won't spoil all of it, but at some point, he gives up. Like, he just absolutely gives up at some point, like very close to the end of the film. Something happens, and he basically is like, I'm too old, I can't do this, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And then it immediately cuts to the kids having fun at Thanksgiving dinner. But at the very end of the film, you see the dog and the cat. You see the whole family like being reunited. sorry, I'm actually getting choked up thinking about it, but, yeah, the family gets reunited at the end, but, like, the little boy Peter, he is like, come on, Shadow, thinking like he was too old, he couldn't make it, and, you know, from what we saw before, we thought, no. But then all of a sudden, at the very end, you see, oh, sorry, I really am, like, getting emotionally choked up just even talking about this scene where, you know, you see Shadow, you know, you thought he was a goner, you thought he was leaving, and then you see him running, like, staggering towards his boy, like, so happy to see him again. When you thought that the odds were against him, that he wasn't going to find his boy, he manages to find his boy, and that scene just always gets me choked up. I'm even just getting choked up talking about it. That's how much I love that scene. Sorry. But no doubt about it, that is probably my most favorite emotional scene in any Disney film, is the ending to that film, Homeward Bound. Absolutely. If you haven't seen that film, I would highly recommend you see it, because you will definitely be crying by the end. Kind of actually bringing into the next part of that whole spiel, I guess I could talk about some of my pets. I'm sure you've seen plenty of them poking up in the back of my webcam several times. But yes, I currently have 4 pets. I have 2 golden retrievers, both biological sisters, but different letters. Brandy, or Sweet Brandy Wine, as her official AMC name is. And we have also her younger sister, Rainbow Candy Cane, or as we sometimes like to call her, KK. They're both absolutely sweethearts. As you've probably seen in some of my videos, they love to eat, especially pears, especially with Brandy, who loves to dance around the pear tree. They are just absolutely sweet. They can be a bit mouthy, absolutely. They are, they're barkers. They are certainly barkers, but, you know, they are absolutely sweethearts, and, you know, I love them to death. And then I also have my 2 cats. Mainly you've been seeing my youngest cat, Patches, showing up multiple times in my webcam, either sitting on the back of my chair, or he decides to jump in my lap and try and distract me from the game. He's our recent addition. Back months ago, we ended up losing my one cat, Mojo. She had some kind of cancerous tumor on her stomach, and it was inoperable, and we had no choice but to euthanize her. But about a week later, we found Patches on Facebook, ironically enough. A lady saw that we had just lost our cat and showed us this picture of him, and he's an absolutely beautiful cat. I'm sure you guys have seen, like, on Instagram and such. He is an absolutely beautiful cat. Even as a kitten, he was absolutely gorgeous, and we just had to pick him up. And he has been a great addition to the family. He has been a sweetheart. Yeah, he's a bit of a talker too. Like, he likes to squeak his head off at times. But he has been an amazing joy to have around. He is very skittish at times, but he is an absolute sweetheart. And, like, he waits for me whenever I go somewhere. He's an awesome cat. And then we also have our oldest cat, Dusty, or we like to call her Dusty Doofus, because she tends to get into a bit of mischief. She likes to jump on things when she shouldn't. She pees in strange places that we have to stop her. She's a bit of a strange cat, where, like, any kind of punishment we try to give her, she just kind of brushes it off and ignores it. She's a typical cat that way. But she is an absolute sweetheart as well. She loves to cuddle at night. She's definitely mischievous, but she is very social. Like, my family has their office downstairs, so they could be there for my brother when he ever comes home and such. And she will just sit there in the office all day and, like, greet clients. She is that kind of a cat. Patches is a lot more skittish, but, I love all of my animals to death, absolutely. I had multiple animals in my time. I originally had 3 other golden retrievers, Mom and 2 sisters, but they're gone now, and I've had other cats that have come and gone. I even had a bunny rabbit. If you look at some of my old videos, I had a little bunny rabbit who was absolutely friends with everybody in the households. But unfortunately, times change. People are no longer with you, including animals, and you kind of move on. But I've always been a big lover of animals, and I wish I could do more and have more, but I'm happy with the 4 that I currently have. The next question on the Disney Questionnaire is a favorite Disney child. I'd say Lilo, but I've already covered Lilo and Stitch, and I don't want to repeat stuff. So I actually have to say probably a character that's not as popular these days, but is still a cool character, and that has to be Penny from The Rescuers. She's this cute little orphan girl who absolutely loves everybody. She carries around this cute little teddy bear. Looks eerily like Winnie the Pooh, by the way. But she's this cute, innocent, and very clever little girl with a big heart, and who unfortunately gets stuck in a bad situation. She's basically used by a bunch of thieves to steal a diamond out of a well. She is and she's also very spunky, if you think about it. She's constantly getting captured by the villain's pet gators, which strange combo, but even when she's being dangled by her underwear by these huge ass alligators, she's like, "Put me down, Brutus," and is a very spunky girl and very optimistic, and she's an adorable little girl, and I think she deserves a bit more love, so I have to say Penny. Next question I picked out for this little Q&A, I thought people would be interested, would say your first gaming experience. I'm kind of a little bit torn on those two things, since on one hand I played both PC and NES, so I was kind of a mixture of different games. But the big stuff I remember growing up, with my younger brother, I would play on the NES with Super Mario Brothers, and Duck Hunt, and Castlevania 3, and Link's Awake. Was it? Oh, The Adventures of Link, the second Legend of Zelda game. Those were the big ones that I played with my brother, as well as Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. And then for the PC, I was kind of all over the place too. It's kind of been my whole family who's been getting me into games, because with my dad, I would play Doom and Quake, and later on Diablo. And then with my mom, I would play more point-and-click adventure games like Kyrandia, Monkey Island, King's Quest. I was kind of all over the place with that, but those are probably the biggest memories I have of my childhood with video games, is probably Super Mario Brothers with my brother, Doom with my dad, and Kyrandia with my mom, so I'll say. But yeah, video games have been a huge part of my life for a long time, so I don't think I'm ever going to stop. The next question in the Disney Questionnaire is your favorite Disney animal. And this time I'm actually going to break more into the Pixar side of things, where I have to say my favorite character has to be Doug from Disney and Pixar's Up. Yeah, he's a cute and adorable dog. Not just the fact that he's a golden retriever, which are absolutely my favorite breed dog in general, but he is such a cute and innocent fluffball who is so goofy and silly. He pretty much encapsulates all of the golden retriever breed. He is silly, he is friendly, he is playful. He reminds me a lot of my own dogs, because as soon as I say squirrel, the same exact way that Doug says it, by the way, their ears perk up and they're like, where? So, and he's just a cute and cuddly and sweetheart, and he's kind of unusual, because it's he talks without actually talking. He's, talks through that collar. So, definitely I have to say Doug is probably my favorite Disney animal. next question I picked out on this little Q&A is if I have any hobbies. Well, obviously, I guess gaming, and I guess now the YouTube channel, since I'm not going to be making money off of it. But video games are probably my biggest thing. But other than that, you know, I like to draw in my spare time. I like to read. I like to do some little creative writing. Nothing that I'm going to publish online for a long time, just saying. Most of it's fan fiction, I think. Been working around with RPG Maker trying to make my own game. I haven't had much time to do that these days, but I do enjoy it. I would say video games are my biggest thing, but also like writing and drawing and even singing to an extent, because we do karaoke once in a while with the family. Also, I guess I could say, like, long time ago, if you look at some of my older videos, I used to be very big into line dancing, but you know, I lost track of that. And then by the time I had time to actually go back and take lessons again, the class kind of advanced without us a little, so we felt a little behind. But those I'd say are probably the biggest hobbies I have, with obviously video games being at the major forefront. The next on the Disney Questionnaire is, what is your favorite Disney song? And that's going to be a tough one, considering there are a lot of good Disney songs out there. Originally, when I was thinking of this, I would say my first choice would have been God Help the Outcasts from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, just because it has a very powerful message attached to it. I mean, not, you know, about the religious stuff, but, you know, this idea that, you know, all these people are going around saying, like, I want this, I want that, you know, being very selfish, and then for this poor girl who is treated like an outcast, you know, treated horribly just because of her background, all she wants is to help others. And I just thought that was an amazingly powerful message, and, you know, very sweet. But, you know, as time goes on, I've kind of lost my little favor of that song. So now I'm going to have to say that my favorite Disney song, some of you are probably going to be rolling your eyes, I know, Let It Go from Frozen. Like, I know, it's been oversaturated to death online. Like, you can't walk 5 steps on YouTube without finding someone doing a cover of that song. But I absolutely do love that song. Idina Menzel version, absolutely. Like, Demi Lovato did okay, but, you know, you can't compete with the original Elphaba from Wicked. Like, the song has an amazing message that can be interpreted in various ways. You know, it could be interpreted like let it go, as in kind of break out of your shell and, you know, do more with yourself, to let, you know, bad things that bother you to be pushed aside, to, like, even maybe let it go, like, you know, coming out if you're gay or something. You know, this song can be interpreted in various different ways, and it's such a powerful scene, and definitely the most memorable scene in that film. So I can understand why people would be a little, you know, tired of that song, because it's, you know, been played so much over the internet and such. But, you know, the original source material, it got popular for a reason, and, you know, even if it's oversaturated to death, I really love that song. Okay, the next question I had thought of pointing out for this Q&A is if I have any fears. And obviously, as being a human being, I naturally have a lot of fears. I'm afraid of heights. I have my moments where I'm afraid of the dark. I am afraid of elevators. I'll still go in them, but I don't like them. Afraid of roller coasters to an extent. Death, the unknown in general, I think. But probably, I guess, my biggest fear is kind of letting people down. Like, that's probably my biggest fear in general, is, you know, I'm always trying, I probably spend way too much more time than I should to try and please people, to try and make people happy. But you know, you can't always do that, but you know, that's always my worry, is that I do put myself into a lot of situations where I go out of my way for someone, and then something doesn't work out, or I'm being used in some way, and just kind of, and I don't like the idea that I'm, you know, despite all my efforts, that I let people down. That's probably why this whole thing with the monetization has hit me so hard, is, you know, like I said, I wouldn't get much even if I was monetizing my videos. Like, even another subscriber on here, and LP and Let's Play Society member, Caffeinated NPC, said he got about $1 over the course, less than $1 over the course of a year of him doing Let's Plays and monetizing his channel. So it doesn't pay in the end, but in a way it feels like, you know, I let everyone down by letting this kind of thing happen. And, you know, it's upsetting, to say the least, that, you know, despite my efforts, that I feel like I let someone down. So probably that is my biggest fear, is that, you know, I'm letting someone down, and I don't want to do that. The next question in the Disney Questionnaire is most favorite beautiful scene, I believe it is, essentially. It's saying, like, what do you find the most pretty out of various scenes in the whole of Disney, I guess. And there's a lot of pretty scenes in films, I'll give you that, but I think my personal favorite is actually from the film Fantasia. It's the Pastoral Symphony section. It's the one with all, like, the Pegasi and the unicorns and centaurs and satyrs and such. Like, that whole scene I just find absolutely beautiful. And that's probably the big thing I remember the most out of Fantasia, obviously besides the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but the whole scene, that whole section of the film, I would have to say, the colors are so vibrant for me, and, you know, the music is really pretty, and even when Zeus comes in with the lightning bolts and such, you know, it gets a little creepy, but then it quickly turns around into something pretty as well. But, you know, that scene is probably the thing I think of the most with Fantasia, not just the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but, you know, that scene I just find absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. And actually, I hadn't even thought of a second, final question on that kind of such, so I'll just cover the absolute last question from the Disney Questionnaire, and it was favorite Disney ending. And there's a lot of good endings out there. They're all, like, happily ever after kind of scenes. But I would have to say, it's a little obscure too, but I'm not going to argue against it, because I guess it could still be considered a Disney film. My favorite ending has to be the ending to Mickey's Christmas Carol. Like, that Christmas Carol, you know, you've seen so many different versions of that particular story by Charles Dickens, but that particular rendition of it, I thought, was very well done and fairly accurate, I think, to the source material. Obviously, you know, the Ghost of Christmas Past wasn't Jiminy Cricket and such, but it really kind of, I think, really hit home the message of that film. And the ending, when Scrooge was scooping up all the little kids and, you know, saying, you know, Merry Christmas, and, you know, as it fades to a very monotone color as everyone's, like, hugging around Scrooge in the rocking chair, and with Minnie and Mickey looking on, it was a really cute and sweet scene to a really cute and awesome movie that, you know, you wouldn't expect, you know, Disney and Charles Dickens going hand in hand in that, but I'd say that has to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, ending to a Disney film, just because it was so sweet and so simple, and, you know, not a huge, like, theatrical thing at the end. It was kind of more intimate. I think that was probably what gets to me the most. And with that, we are currently done with this little Q&A. I'm sure I've got a lot to edit through this. I'm sure I don't even know if I'm going to put it in 2 parts or not. It's going to be a long one, I'm sure. It's going to take me a while to, you know, get this done. But, you know, thank you again to everybody who asked me some questions. Thank you again to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. Over 200 strong. Thank you for being supportive over, what happened with my monetization. Hopefully, other things can happen in the future. Like I said, maybe I'll do, I'll do another channel. I'll start a second channel if I feel like it, and continue somewhere else. Like just keep this for Let's Plays and vlogs, and try to do some other projects. I don't know. Sky's the limit. But thank you again to everybody who's been supportive through the whole thing, and now we are over 200 strong because of it. So again, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you pretty much for all the support, all the love, for sharing, for commenting, for liking. I will eventually be trying to get this Cards Against Humanity thing up and running, but for now, this is StarPrincessHLC saying thank you very much for watching, and have a fond farewell.